to all the grade 10 learners. Welcome to Online Learning Channel. I am Teacher Nella and I will be teaching you all grade 10 English. So our first lesson today for term 2 will be writing and presenting. Our focus today will be on the writing process and essay writing. So we'll be going through what is the writing process and how to use the writing process in detail. Also, you will learn what essay writing is and the types of essay writing. The formal assessments for writing and presenting for grade 10 are essay writing and transactional writing. So the types of essay writing that you will be tested on in your exams will be narrative, descriptive, argumentative, and expository, as well as reflective essays. You will also be tested on transactional writing, which is dialogue, formal business letter, report, review, and newspaper articles. But for today's lesson, we will only focus on the different types of essay writing. In the next lesson, I will go through transactional writing with you. Our learning goals and objectives for today. We will go through in detail what the writing process is and how to use it in essay writing. And we will review the different types of essay writing. The writing process consists of the following. Firstly, pre-writing, planning, drafting, editing, and presenting. So firstly, pre-writing is about, firstly, you need to read the topic carefully to understand what you must do. You'll be given many topics and you choose the one that you want. And read it carefully firstly so you can decide what you need to write about. Once you've read your topic and chosen it, you need to consider the format and structure, the language and the tone and register of the topic you have chosen. Now, when we talk about tone and register, we look at whether it's formal or informal. Formal tone is used if you are writing an argumentative or expository essay. An informal tone will be for a narrative, friendly letter, or diary entry. To go into this further, formal versus informal writing. The formal writing style, the tone is polite but impersonal. The informal writing style, the tone is more personal and friendlier. You would use that for a friendly letter as well. An example of a formal tone. If you're writing a business letter, your tone will be formal and you will address it to whom it may concern. Also, if you're writing something like an expository essay, you will say many people enjoy amusement parks, or studies show many people spend too much time on the computer. For an informal writing style, if you write a friendly letter, you might address it as Dear Grandma or Dear Tom. Or you might say in your letter, you like amusement parks, right? Which is using the colloquial word right, which is a use of colloquialism in that letter. Also, for example, if you spend too much time on the computer like many people do, that's a much more informal writing style. For example, expository essay. So the other element of pre-writing is what is the essay's purpose, audience, and context. We will go through each separately. The purpose is your message. What are you trying to say in your essay? What is the author trying to share in the story? What sort of information? And we look at the acronym PI. P, to persuade or convince the reader. I, to inform or explain or teach the reader. Or E, to entertain or convey an experience. Or we could go even further. We've spoken about persuade, entertain, inform, and you can also describe something to the reader. Who is your audience? Now, to decide what writing style you are going to be using, your audience will impact on this. An audience is the person for whom a writer writes or a composer composes. A writer uses a particular style of language, tone, as we mentioned before, and content according to what he or she knows about his audience. For example, look at this cartoon here. This guy over here on the left says, I'm writing for everyone in the world. And this guy on the right says, I'm writing for Fred, the circus clown. Which one is correct? Yes, the guy on the left who's writing specifically for Fred, the circus clown, is doing the correct thing when it comes to writing. Because you've got to be specific about your audience. You can't write for everyone, because then you'll confuse your writing and it will be all over the place. So, for example, writing for different audiences, Mr. Autry, when he speaks to different people, he speaks differently or in a different tone. For example, he speaks to Dennis. When he speaks to Dennis, he is rude and makes it clear he doesn't like him. When he speaks to a parent, he is not just rude and says things they will want to hear. He also explains himself more. He's much more polite to parents. If he speaks to a stranger, he is rude, but he tries to sound important and conceited. So the next element is context or situation. We define context as the background, environment, setting, or surroundings of events or occurrences in a piece of writing. For example, context is a situation which generates the need for writing. It's affected by the time period, location, current events, and cultural significance. For example, if you're going to write an argumentative topic about a political situation in South Africa, for example, there's a lockdown for coronavirus, your time period and the location will be affected in the context. You'd have to choose which location that is. The time, South Africa during the lockdown, and your affected time period would be the time duration during lockdown from the 27th of March till the end of April. And as mentioned, it would be affected by the current events of the coronavirus and the lockdown and the political situation. So we go to the second element of our process of writing, which is planning. Planning comes into play after you've decided everything in pre-writing. You then start brainstorming your ideas on the topic using a mind map. Write your ideas using keywords and phrases. An example of a mind map. For example, if you chose the topic happiness, you would then put the topic in the middle of the mind map and have these little rays coming out of your central point. For example, we are speaking about everything that makes us happy. Of course, it has to be happy. Sunshine, warmth, chocolate, exercise, smiling, laughter, running, swimming, relaxing, brother. All these are the elements that brings about our happiness, our personal happiness. So we all are down in the mind map in this example. Another example of using mind maps. For example, we are using the topic how to create a mind map using the mind map method. So in the central part, you'd have the topic how to create a mind map, and you'd have branches going out. For example, nobody's perfect. Don't focus on perfection. Tidy up later. Let your ideas explode. Break on the page mentality, which means don't worry about just being on the page. Break out of the box. Make sure your brain isn't confined to one page. So mind maps shouldn't be either. In other words, as I mentioned in the book, break out of the box. Use color. You can make your mind maps colorful as well, because that stimulates creativity. Group your ideas and thoughts by using color. Don't take sides. Embrace both sides of your brain. For example, the creative side and analytical side. Share it. When you finish, share it with your study buddies. This will help you get a fresh perspective. Go deeper. Every node on a mind map could be its own mind map. For example, there's so many nodes here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we've used different colors to show those different points, and each one of them have a branching out into different ideas. So that's just an example of how to create a mind map. The other very important element is research. If you're going to do an essay topic on argumentative or expository essays, which you will be getting later on this term, you need to do research, lots and lots of research. And you also have to plan what you want to say. Now, your research, you go to Google, use social media, go to the library, depending on what topic it is. You also do interviews, but those are some of the elements that comprise your research. And then once you've done your research, you plan what you want to say, and you identify the main ideas and supporting information. Make sure you contain one idea in each paragraph, and this is where your mind mapping will be very important. Check that your ideas follow a logical sequence. The mind map also helps you with that. And then we come to drafting. Once you've got all your ideas together, you've planned everything, you will write your first draft and take into account once again the purpose of the text, the audience, and the type of text, format, and style. We've spoken about purpose and audience before, and the type and format of text or format and style is dependent on the purpose and the audience of your text. For example, again, why am I writing this? Who is my audience for this? So depending on my audience and my purpose, what sort of writing will suit this purpose and form, and what sort of style do I need to write in? For example, if you're going to be writing a narrative essay, and your audience for this narrative essay are grade 10 learners, then and you want to tell them that drugs are bad for you, which is your purpose, then you'd also suit your writing style to your grade 10 learners. You're not going to write for a foundation phase. So your writing style is going to be to the intellectual level of a grade 10 learner. And your style will also be something where grade 10 learners are going to be much more aware of it and will be able to understand it. It will be both formal as well as informal. So we're moving on to drafting. Choose the words that are suitable to the topic and essay type. Also, use paragraphs, very, very important. Paragraphs are there to organize your ideas in a logical sequence. An example that you can use is the analogy of a burger or paragraph sandwich. Think of a paragraph as a sandwich or a burger. It has 3-point parts. The top part, the top bun, is your topic sentence. And in the middle, the meat and all that good stuff is the supporting details that will give your essay the flavor that you are trying to impart. And then the bottom bun is the concluding sentence, which finishes off and completes your paragraph. Without the bottom line or the concluding sentence, your paragraph is incomplete. We then move on to editing. Write, edit, repeat. Read your first draft and look at the word choice, sentence structure, paragraph structure, and how you can improve on these. Check the sequencing and linking of paragraphs. Does the essay flow? Is it logical? Does one paragraph link to the next? Check grammar, spelling, and punctuation. And I cannot repeat this because most learners tend to forget about spelling and punctuation and grammar. They are in such a hurry to just write their draft and get it over with and then write their final. But in your editing process is where the magic happens. Check the format. Rewrite and rework until you are satisfied, and keep to your word count, because we don't want to read 5 pages of an essay that's only 2 pages long, because then you are not actually keeping to the topic. Your editing checklist. So I'm giving you a nice little checklist that you can use for your editing. Revise versus edit. So under revise, look at the acronym ARMS. Okay, and ARMS stands for add sentences and words, remove words or sentences you don't need, move, change a word or placement of a sentence, and substitute, trade words or sentences for new ones. So for ARMS, you are revising what you've written by either adding or removing sentences or words, or even moving them and placing them in a different sequence. You're also substituting, for example, changing some of your words. Like for example, you can use a thesaurus to do this, to make the words, your descriptive words, more punchier. Okay, and the next one, edit. Our acronym here is called CUPS, for your spelling, your grammar, and your punctuation. C is for capitalize. Make sure that your names, places, titles, months, etc. are capitalized. Your usage refers to nouns and verbs that are correctly used. Make sure you're using the correct nouns and the correct verbs. Then P stands for punctuation. Your periods or your quotes, your full periods, example, full stops, your quotation marks, your commas, your semicolon, apostrophes need to be in the correct places. And then finally, your spelling. Check all your words. Check the spelling of your words. Look for homophones or homonyms, and use a dictionary to make sure that your spelling is correct. Finally, we move on to essays. Now you know the writing process, and now we will go through types of essays. But firstly, what is an essay? An essay is a short piece of writing on a particular topic. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And this beginning is the introduction. Your introduction should catch the reader's attention, define the topic, and briefly tell the reader what the essay will be addressing. Your body, as I mentioned before, is the meat of your essay. The body will consist of the full content of the essay and must be divided into paragraphs. Each paragraph will deal with a specific idea, and they have to be written in a logical sequence, keeping to the topic. Finally, your conclusion. The conclusion is the ending or the closing argument, for example, in an argumentative essay. This should wrap up all that is presented by the writer, and no new information should be added in the conclusion. So, types of essay. Firstly, we are looking at the narrative essay. And when I look at narrative, just so you know, narrative, the word narrative, the synonym for narrative is a story. So another word for the word story is narrative. And that's how you know that a narrative essay is an essay about story. It's when you have to tell a story. So the word narrate comes from narrative. To narrate is to tell a story. And another word, narration. This suffix narration also comes from narrate, and narration is the process of narrating or telling a story. So the narrative essay is a piece of writing that tells of an incident or event, or in other words, a story. Our next essay is a descriptive essay. It means to describe something that is to be descriptive. Description, a spoken word, a spoken or written account of a person, object, or situation. Descriptive essay attempts to paint a picture with words of a person, place, or object. For example, it was, look at these two people in this comic strip. It was, words can't describe. Are you sure? That's what they do, says the other one. Because in a descriptive essay, you're going to use descriptive words, adjectives, to describe what you're trying to say. And in my next lesson, I'll be going through descriptive essay and argumentative and persuasive essay in more detail with you. So the next type of essay is argumentative or persuasive essay. Persuasive comes from the word persuade, or to influence, convince another person to your point of view. In an argumentative essay, the writer has a specific opinion or viewpoint and argues to defend his or her position. For example, should uniforms be banned in school? Should they wear only civvies? Should civvies replace uniforms in school? So that would be a specific viewpoint by the writer, and he or she will argue that position, that civvies should actually replace uniforms in school. And as you can see, it's a subjective view. It's a subjective essay where the writer tries to convince the reader to share his or her point of view. It's a tug of war, why am I right? And in an argumentative essays are used very often in courts of law by lawyers. So it's one of the most used essays in the legal field. The other type of essay is expository essay. To expose is to reveal a truth. Expository is intended to explain or describe something. An expository essay is a written analysis or explanation of a topic or subject. For example, climate change. People are trying to expose the truth about climate change, global warming. And in that type of essay or topic, they would want to inform, describe, and explain. So expository essay is a type of writing where the purpose is to inform the public, describe the situation, and explain about the situation or explain the consequences of it. Expository essay requires you to investigate a topic and explain it and argue an opinion on it. And this is where a lot of research and factual evidence comes into play. Finally, the reflective essay. To reflect means to think deeply. A reflective essay is an essay in which the writer examines his or her experiences in life, written in order to look back on the personal experiences and to measure that the experiences is help the author to grow or change. So out of a reflective essay, you'll start off examining an experience, and towards the end, the conclusion, you'll come up with a realization of how you've changed or the growth that you have made through this experience. We have come to the end of our presentation. So grade 10s, I want you to keep calm and enjoy grade 10, and thank you for watching the online learning channel. I will see you again next time in our next lesson.